This morning, parents in Madison, Wisconsin received the notification that all parents fear, that their child's school was under attack by an active shooter. Tonight, 3 people are dead, including the shooter, and 7 more are injured after the shooting at a private Christian school. Police say the shooter was a teenager and attended the school. In America, gun violence is an epidemic, with approximately 3 million of our children exposed to it every year. Firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens in the United States. David Hogg survived the 2018 shooting at his high school in Parkland, Florida, which left 17 people dead. Hogg and his classmates held marches demanding strengthened gun laws, and they founded the gun safety group March for Our Lives, which has helped pass more than 250 gun safety laws. Hogg went on to found Leaders We Deserve, a group focused on electing young people to local and national public office. And today, he announced that he is running for vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. He says he's frustrated that the Democratic Party has become increasingly the party of sycophants who have lost focus on issues that matter to the majority of Americans. And David Hogg joins me now. David, it's always good to see you. I do want to give you an opportunity to comment on this shooting today.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is not unfamiliar to our country, but I think it speaks to the need for us to get our act together as a country, to elect morally just leaders that actually do take action on gun violence. And what I would remind people watching of is the fact that after Parkland, many people said to us that change was not going to be possible, that this is Florida. Nothing changes here. This is a Republican state. And we went out there as young people and did change it, not just by ourselves, but with our teachers, with parents from our school. We raised the age to buy a gun to 21, and we passed a red flag law that has been used over 19,000 times to disarm people that are at risk themselves and others. But that doesn't matter when this still happens every single day. And these parents and these students will know this pain for the rest of their life. And what I would say to them is to make sure that you are just around each other and in community, and know that, unfortunately, you're not alone.
Yeah, unfortunately, and probably there'll be more and more and more of this going forward. I want to talk about your race to be DNC vice chair. I think you and I agree, I suspect, that one of the biggest problems with the Democratic Party, and you saw it play out in this campaign, is that there are a small set of consultants who get very rich off campaigns, who do very well for themselves financially, but they don't actually necessarily win, and they aren't really penalized for it. They get to do another election and another election and another election, and they keep coming back, making money, and they don't actually change things. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think that is a huge part of the problem that we have, is we have developed a system within our party where oftentimes it's these same consultants getting hired over and over and over again that believe that the right type of messaging to voters that are concerned about rising crime or what they perceive to be rising crime or rising costs is to talk about statistics and show them graphs instead of actually addressing those feelings head on. You know, Joy, I know the stats as somebody who advocates against gun violence. We know that gun violence has gone down by double digits, and that's great. But obviously today shows us how we've not made nearly enough progress on that. And it's possible to hold both at the same time and acknowledge people's feelings and not say to them, no, your feelings aren't valid. You should feel safe because gun violence has gone down X%. We need to meet people where they're at and actually have a conversation with them in the first place and make sure that we're not just surrounding ourselves in our party with a group of consultants who only tell us what we want to hear instead of what we need to hear. You know, whenever I interact with young people who, as you can imagine, are not always a completely united group, especially after this election and the pathway forward for the Democratic Party, even if there are disagreements, I work to engage with them and ask them, what can we do to make sure that as a generation, we are not repeating the same divisions that came before us to actually build a stronger Democratic Party. And that's part of the reason I'm running. To be vice chair, to build up that experience and make sure we're not just surrounding ourselves with those who tell us what we want to hear, that tell us when we have a problem with young men, the answer is not to tell young people, hey, we don't, it's fine, so they can keep their consulting job. It's to say, well, what can we do about that and get to work?
There's also a thing in the Democratic Party. It's very hierarchical. It's so-and-so's turn. We just saw AOC lose a race inside of the Democratic Party hierarchy in Congress to Gary Connolly, who's a fine congressman. But she would have been a different voice on oversight, a younger voice, a voice that has more connections to social media and to younger people. What is it about the Democratic Party that they don't want to pass the torch, it seems?
You know, I think the fact of the matter is that people get caught up in their own ways. And I think a lot of people, frankly, we need generational diversity in our party. We talk all the time about racial diversity, and that's super important, gender diversity, all those other things, but we need age diversity as well in our party, especially when we cannot win without our young people. What we need to do is make sure that when we're Joy, when I talked publicly about my fears about young voters, I got messages from consultants within the party, people over the age of 45, telling me, here you go, saying this dumb stuff again. You don't need to worry about this. This is not a problem. Then we saw a 21-point shift to the right. When I was at the National Finance Committee for the Biden-Harris campaign at the DNC, I got up and said, what are we doing about young men? And the amount of vitriol and comments that I got back about why would you ask this question? It's such a dumb thing to be asking. And then to see what happened told me that the only other option I have is to run for this. And it's because I'm not here just to criticize. I'm here to build.
There you go. Amen. David Hogg, I hope you win. I am going to openly root for you in this race. Good luck, my friend. Much appreciated. And
thank you. And if anybody wants, David for DNC.com.
Go ahead, quick. All right, there we got it. We got you. Thank you, David.